Hey everyone! Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. It's so great to have you with us today.
Today, we're going to talk about something very useful in everyday English. How to talk about your job. Whether you're meeting new people, going to a job interview, or just chatting with friends, this is something we all do.
That's right. Talking about your job in English can help you connect with others, show your skills, and even open new opportunities, especially if you're working or planning to work in an international environment.
Exactly. And the good news is, you don't need to be an advanced speaker to do it. You just need to know some useful words, simple sentence patterns, and a bit of confidence.
Yes, and in this episode, we'll walk you through everything, from basic job vocabulary to how to answer common questions like, "What do you do?" or "Where do you work?"
We'll also do some fun role plays to show you how native speakers talk about their jobs in a natural way. So whether you're a student, a teacher, an engineer, or even looking for a job, this episode is for you.
So grab a notebook, relax, and let's get started. You're going to learn how to talk about your job in English with ease and confidence.
So, Julia, let's start by asking, why is it so important to know how to talk about your job in English?
Great question, Jason. I think the simple answer is because it comes up all the time. Whether you're meeting someone new, having a casual conversation, or even going to a job interview, people often ask, "What do you do?"
That's true. It's one of the first questions we ask when we meet someone, right? Hi, I'm Jason. Nice to meet you. What do you do for work? It's so common.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter where you are, in a coffee shop, at an airport, in a Zoom meeting, someone might ask you about your job. And if you're learning English, it's really helpful to be ready with an answer.
Also, many people learn English to get better jobs or to move abroad. And in those situations, you'll definitely need to talk about your experience, your skills, and what you do at work.
That's right. For example, in a job interview, they might ask, "What are your responsibilities?" or "Tell me about your past work." If you can answer clearly, that's a big plus.
Plus, it helps in networking too. If you go to a conference or an event, it's good to introduce yourself and your work in a confident way. Like, "Hi, I work in marketing," or "I'm a software engineer."
And don't forget, talking about your job can help you practice English every day. You already know your work well, so talking about it in English is a great way to build fluency.
That's a good point. You don't need to learn new ideas, you just need to learn how to express them in English. And when you do that, your confidence grows.
Exactly. So even if you're just learning simple sentences like "I work in a hospital" or "I teach children," it's a great way to start.
So, to everyone listening, don't be shy about talking about your job in English. It's useful, it's practical, and today we'll help you do it with the right vocabulary and phrases.
All right. Coming up next, we'll go over some basic vocabulary for jobs and workplaces to help you begin. So stay with us.
All right, welcome back. Now let's talk about some basic vocabulary for jobs and work. This part is super important, especially if you want to describe what you do.
Yes, and we'll keep it simple. First, let's start with some common job titles. These are words you can use to say what your job is.
Okay, here are some examples. Teacher, doctor, engineer, nurse, police officer, driver, chef, student.
Nice list, Jason. And for office jobs, we also have words like manager, assistant, accountant, designer, developer, receptionist.
Right. And if you don't have a job at the moment, you can say, "I'm unemployed," or "I'm looking for a job." Or if you're not working right now, you can say, "I'm between jobs."
Good one. Now let's move on to places where people work. We can say, office, hospital, school, restaurant, shop, factory, company.
Exactly. So if someone asks, "Where do you work?" you can say, "I work in a hospital," or "I work at a school." Let's try a few examples.
Sure. I work in a restaurant. I'm a chef. I work in an office. I'm an accountant. I work at a university. I'm a teacher.
Perfect. Now let's look at verbs, the action words. Here are some useful work-related verbs: work, teach, help, drive, design, build, sell, manage.
Let's give some examples. I teach math at a school. I drive a taxi. I help customers in a shop. I design websites.
That's really helpful. And here are a few more simple words people use when talking about work: job, work, boss, team, hours, salary, office, computer.
For example, my job is interesting. I work from 9 to 5. My boss is kind. I work on a computer all day.
You can also describe your job with adjectives like easy, hard, busy, boring, interesting, fun, stressful. Try this. My job is busy, but fun. Sometimes it's stressful.
These are great ways to express how you feel about your job. So, to our listeners, don't worry if you forget a word. Start small and just practice using simple job words and short sentences.
Yes, the more you use these words, the more natural they will feel. And soon, you'll be able to talk about your job easily in English.
Coming up next, we'll show you how to describe your job in simple, clear sentences. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back. So now that we've learned some basic vocabulary, let's talk about how to put those words into simple sentences. Julia, what's a good way to start?
One of the easiest ways is to say, I work as a, followed by your job title. For example, I work as a teacher. I work as a driver. I work as a nurse. It's a very clear and natural sentence.
Exactly. And if you want to say where you work, you can use I work at or I work in, like I work at a hospital, I work in a school, I work at a bank.
Let's do a mini role play, Jason. I'll ask, what do you do? You answer, I work as a designer. I work at a small company.
Nice. Now I'll ask you, where do you work?
I work in an office. I'm a marketing manager.
Great. Another useful sentence is, I am responsible for. This means you are in charge of something at work. For example, I am responsible for customer service. I'm responsible for training new staff.
Yes, it sounds more professional. You can also say, my job is to like. My job is to help people find the right product. My job is to fix machines.
These are super helpful when someone wants to know what exactly you do every day. And don't forget, if your job has many tasks, you can say, I do many things at work. Then you can add examples. I answer emails, schedule meetings, and talk to clients.
That's a good way to show your full role. And here's another tip. Use the present simple tense when you talk about your job. Like, I work, I help, I teach, I drive. Because these are things you do regularly.
Exactly. Let's practice a few more examples together. Julia, how would you describe your job if you were a nurse?
I'd say, I work as a nurse. I work at a hospital. I take care of patients and help doctors.
Perfect. Now I'll try one. I work as a software developer. I work in an IT company. I design and test computer programs.
Very clear. So remember, listeners, start with simple patterns like I work as a, I work at in, I'm responsible for, my job is to.
Practice saying these out loud. Try writing them down using your own job. The more you use them, the more natural they will sound.
Coming up next, we'll show you how to answer common questions about your job in English. Don't go anywhere.
All right, welcome back. So far, we've learned how to describe our job in simple sentences. Now let's practice how to answer common questions that people often ask about jobs.
Yes, these are questions you'll hear in everyday conversation, at social events, or even in interviews. And don't worry, we'll show you how to answer them step by step.
Let's start with the most common one. What do you do? It just means, what is your job?
Right. And a simple way to answer is, I work as a, for example, I work as a teacher, I work as an electrician, or you can also say, I'm a doctor, I'm a student.
Let's try a quick role play. Julia, ask me the question.
Sure. So, Jason, what do you do?
I work as a graphic designer. I create designs for websites and logos. Now I'll ask you, what do you do, Julia?
I'm a customer service agent. I help customers with their questions and problems.
Perfect. Now, here's another common question. Where do you work? You can say, I work at a hospital. I work in an office. Or even, I work from home.
Yes, these answers are short and natural. Try this one. I work at a bank in the city. I work in a school near my house.
Now, here's a good one. What's your typical day like? This means, what do you usually do during your workday?
And for this question, use the present simple tense. I usually check emails in the morning. Then I talk to customers and help them solve problems. Or I start work at 8 a.m. I teach 3 classes and then do lesson planning.
Want to try one, Julia?
Sure, I start my day by answering emails. Then I have meetings and work on projects. I finish work around 5 p.m.
That's a great example. Another question you might hear is, do you like your job?
Easy answers could be, yes, I do. I enjoy helping people. Or, it's a little stressful, but I like it. Even, not really, but I'm looking for a new opportunity.
Nice and honest. And here's one more question. How long have you been doing this job? You can say, I've been working here for 2 years. I started this job last year. I've been a nurse for 5 years.
So, listeners, now it's your turn. Try answering these questions at home. What do you do? Where do you work? What's your typical day like? Do you like your job? How long have you done this job?
You can write down your answers or say them out loud. And if you make a mistake, that's okay. Every time you practice, you get better.
Coming up next, we'll go deeper into how to talk about your daily tasks at work using simple verbs and expressions. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, friends. Now that we've talked about how to describe your job and answer common questions, let's go one step further. Let's talk about your daily tasks.
Yes, this means what do you do every day at work? These are your regular duties or activities. It's a great way to give people more information about your job.
And don't worry, you don't need big words. Just use simple verbs in the present tense. Let's look at some useful verbs you can use to talk about tasks.
Here are some common ones: send, check, write, answer, talk, help, clean, drive, fix, make, teach, call.
Great list. And to talk about how often you do something, you can use adverbs of frequency like always, usually, sometimes, often, never.
Let's try some examples. Jason, what do you do every day?
Here's one. I usually start my day by checking emails. Then I design graphics for websites. I sometimes have meetings with clients in the afternoon.
Nice. I'll try one too. I help customers with their questions. I answer phone calls and write reports. I usually finish work around 6 p.m.
Very good. Let's give more examples for different jobs. For a teacher, I teach English to young students. I prepare lessons and check homework.
For a driver, I drive a bus in the city. I usually start work at 6 a.m. and drive until 2 p.m.
And for someone who works in a restaurant, I take orders from customers. I serve food and clean tables. I sometimes help in the kitchen.
These are great. You can also say, my job includes or I'm in charge of, like, my job includes answering emails and making schedules. I'm in charge of social media for the company.
And remember, use short, clear sentences like, I talk to people, I help my team, I make products.
So, listeners, think about your own job. What are 3 things you do every day? Say them in English like this. I usually, I sometimes, every day, I.
You can even write them down or practice saying them with a friend. And if you don't have a job yet, you can practice with a job you want to have.
Coming up next, we'll show you how to talk about your past jobs or work experience, so stay with us.
Welcome back. In this part, we're going to learn how to talk about past jobs or work experience in English.
Yes, this is important for job interviews, writing a CV, or just sharing your work history in conversation.
Exactly. And the good news is, it's simple. You just need to use the past tense. Let's start with some basic phrases.
One very common phrase is, I used to work as a, for example, I used to work as a waiter. I used to work as a cashier in a supermarket.
That's a great way to talk about something you did before. You can also say, I worked at or I worked in. For example, I worked at a hospital for 3 years. I worked in a bank when I lived in Kabul.
Here's another useful phrase. I was responsible for. This is good for describing what you did in that job. I was responsible for training new employees. I was responsible for managing the front desk.
Let's do a quick role play, Julia. I'll ask, what did you do before this job?
I used to work in a clothing store. I helped customers and managed the cashier. Now I'll ask you, what was your last job, Jason?
I worked as a tour guide. I showed visitors around the city and explained the history.
Very nice. You can also talk about how long you worked at your past job. I worked there for 2 years. I had that job for 6 months.
And remember, keep it simple. Use these phrases. I used to work as a I worked at Chat in I was responsible for I had that job for.
So to our listeners, think of a past job you had. Try saying, I used to work as a, and add what you did. It's a great way to practice using past tense in English.
Coming up next, we'll help you talk about your future career goals in English. Stay with us. Welcome back. So far, we've talked about your current job, daily tasks, and even your past work experience. Now, let's look into the future. How to talk about your career goals in English?
Yes, whether you're a student, starting your career, or planning a change, it's good to know how to say what you want to do in the future.
And don't worry, it's simple. You can use phrases like, I want to, I hope to, or I'm going to.
For example, I want to become a doctor. I hope to work in a big company. I'm going to study business next year.
Let's try a few more. Julia, what's a future goal you can share?
I want to improve my English so I can work abroad, or I hope to get a job in marketing. How about you, Jason?
I'd say, I'm going to start my own business one day. I want to be a team leader in the future.
These are great examples. You can also say, someday I'd like to, someday I'd like to teach English online.
So, to everyone listening, take a minute and think, what's your dream job? What do you want to do next year? Try saying, I want to, I hope to, I'm going to.
And remember, your goals can be big or small. The important thing is to practice saying them in English. That builds confidence and clarity.
Coming up next, we'll teach you some useful phrases for interviews and networking, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now let's talk about some useful phrases you can use in job interviews or when you're networking. That means meeting people to talk about work or business.
Yes, these are phrases that help you sound more professional and confident. Let's start with a few for interviews.
One of the most common phrases is, I have experience in. For example, I have experience in customer service. I have experience in managing teams.
Another good one is, I'm good at, this helps you talk about your strengths. I'm good at solving problems. I'm good at working with people.
And don't forget, my strengths are like, my strengths are communication and teamwork.
Here's a great phrase for showing your attitude. I'm a fast learner, or I enjoy learning new things.
That's perfect for beginners. Now let's look at some simple phrases for networking, talking to people at events, conferences, or even online.
You can say, I work in marketing. What about you? Or, I'm looking for new opportunities.
And here's a nice way to show interest. Tell me more about what you do. Or, it's great to connect with professionals like you.
These phrases are short but powerful. They help you sound friendly and confident, even if your English isn't perfect.
So, to our listeners, try using just 2 or 3 of these phrases the next time you talk about work or go to an interview.
Coming up next, we're going to have a fun mini role play to show how these phrases work in a real conversation.
Welcome back! Now it's time for a fun part, a mini role play, where Julia and I will have a natural conversation about our jobs. This will help you hear how people talk about their work in real life.
Yes, this is a great way to practice. Jason, I'll start by asking you some common questions.
Sounds good. Go ahead.
Hi, Jason, what do you do?
Hi, Julia. I work as a software developer at a tech company. I design and test computer programs.
That sounds interesting. What does a typical day look like for you?
Well, I usually start by checking emails and messages. Then I write code for new features and fix any bugs.
Cool. How long have you been doing this job?
I've been working as a developer for 3 years now. What about you, Julia? What do you do?
I'm a customer service agent. I help customers with questions and solve their problems.
Nice! Where do you work?
I work at a large call center in the city.
What are some daily tasks you do?
I answer phone calls, reply to emails, and sometimes help train new employees.
Do you like your job?
Yes, I do. I enjoy talking to people and helping them. Do you have any future goals?
Yes! I want to become a team leader and work on bigger projects.
That's great. I hope to improve my English and maybe become a supervisor one day.
Thanks for the chat, Julia. This was a good practice for all our listeners.
Yes, thanks everyone for listening. Now it's your turn to try talking about your job like this.
Welcome back. Now that we've practiced talking about jobs, let's share some tips to help you practice speaking about your job in English.
Yes. The first tip is to practice speaking out loud. Don't just think about the sentences, say them. You can do this alone, in front of a mirror, or with a friend.
Good point. Another tip is to record yourself. Listen to the recording and you can hear how you sound. This helps you notice mistakes and improve your pronunciation.
And if you can, find a speaking partner or tutor to practice with. It's great to get feedback and real conversation experience.
Also, try to use new words and phrases you learn every day. For example, when you learn new job vocabulary, use it when you talk or write about your work.
Don't worry about making mistakes. Making mistakes is a normal part of learning. The more you practice, the better you get.
And finally, try to think in English when you talk about your job. This helps you speak more naturally without translating from your language.
That's a great tip, Jason. So remember, speak out loud, record yourself, practice with others, use new words, and don't fear mistakes.
Keep practicing, and soon you'll feel confident talking about your job in English.
Coming up next, the final part of today's episode with some motivation and final thoughts.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode on how to talk about your job in English. We hope you found it helpful.
Yes, remember, talking about your job is something you can practice every day. The more you practice, the easier it gets.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn and grow. Every step you take is progress.
And try to use what you learned today when you meet new people or practice English. Even a small sentence is a big step forward.
We'd love to hear from you. Share your job in English in the comments or send us a message. Practice makes perfect.
Thank you so much for listening. Keep practicing, stay confident, and we'll see you next time on English Learning Podcast.